100 years from now, wouldn't it be nice if Goodwill was focusing on another social problem? We've been able to get enough people out of poverty that they don't need charity anymore, and those services that we provided can be focused on something new and different, whichever that is in 100 years' time. I don't know what those problems are going to be in 100 years, but I believe that the work we do, which is dignity providing, especially when you see people who go to our Excel centers and they get a degree and their kids say, oh, that's the way I'm going like mom and dad did. And so it's multi-generational. Getting people out of poverty is multi-generational. In 100 years, we will be a social enterprise that, just like 50 years ago, we were focused a little different. We will be a social enterprise still. And I believe we will evolve to meet the needs of the time. There's something on our website I always point people to. It's like what we do, and it's this chart. I'm a math guy, so it's a little chart, and it has along the sides barriers. And barriers are words that are like transportation, housing, education, addiction, mental health. Along the top, it's 1 means you're in crisis, 2 you're vulnerable, and then 5 you're empowered. I like it because it's almost quantifying where people are. And it's a way to say to our donors, to our board, to the CEO, are we doing any good? We've gotten our arms around understanding people where they are today and what we need to do to get them to, where they want to go. And if you look at those early pictures, you see guys that may have a crutch and they're working on like a sleigh or something like that. You see something from the early 1920s. This person likely had some kind of a disadvantage. And 100 years later, we're just doing it in different ways. Like how we've done programs has changed, but not that central idea of helping someone who needs help. We use employment as the tool. The proceeds from that sale in a retail store have gone to help others. I was talking to Linda Cowan, who was our prior board chair. I said, I talked to my dad the other day. Joe Hohmann's my dad. It's also my grandfather. Also my great-grandfather. My mother put a stop to that because she had too many Joes. I was talking to her and I said, my grandfather used to shop at Goodwill. And he was an immigrant. The reason why was he shopping there? Because he's in poverty. He was a Bostonian who needed shoes to get a job. That was probably in the 30s in Boston. Goodwill was founded in the early part of the century. She says, it's pretty cool that here you are as the CFO of Goodwill when your grandfather was shopping, really scraping by, barely scraping by. And I thought, well, that's really cool that he used our social enterprise to get his needs met back, and just even for shoes and a jacket for an interview. And then his grandson is helping others and giving back. So that touched me when Linda said that. I just never had thought about that. Anecdotes are great, but when you look, like I said, the self-sufficiency matrix, you look and say, wow, we're helping that many people get out and stay in the middle class, if that's their goal. Certainly my goal for people. That graduation, when people say, this is where I've been, whether it's prison, addiction, this is where I am today, I'm trying to get my kids back, I have a job, or I want to get a house, I want a car, these other things in the future. And then you see the people. Probably 70% of our store managers are the people that had backgrounds. Like, that's touching to me when they're at the RISE graduation and they're talking about vulnerable, tough times in their life, and then a couple years later, you see them and they're a store manager or senior store manager, or better yet, they've graduated from Goodwill and they're at General Electric, where they come back to us and they're making $70,000, $80,000 as plumber or as a welder, and it's like, well, that's cool. We're there for them during a tough spot in their life. And it's probably hard for them to think about that time, but everyone has trials in their life and everyone has hard things that happen. And Goodwill they just happened to meet Goodwill, and they had that inner drive, that fire. They just needed someone to help them and show them the way.